Carried. Thank you so much. In recognition of the City of Mount Pearl's commitment to foster respectful and collaborative relationships with Indigenous peoples in the City of Mount Pearl and beyond, we hereby acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Beothuk and the Mi'kmaq. Mount Pearl and the broader metro region continue to be home to diverse Indigenous people, including First Nations, Inuit, I should say, and Métis. Minutes council for the previous meeting on the 15th. Good job putting them together, staff. Appreciate that. Any errors or omissions, please? So we'll need a motion now to adopt those minutes. Moved by Councillor Rice. Thank you. Second by Councillor Locke. All in favor? Opposed? And carried. Business arising, folks. Just quote the item number in either the action report or the minutes. I think I will do the Hope Air proclamation now, if that works for Jacqueline. Would you like to join us, Jacqueline? All right, and we'll read it. I'll read it, and maybe you'd like to talk about it a little bit. I hope you will. All right, that's two, right? I'm done. Yes, please come on up. Yeah. Let me get it. Oh, nice. We like swag. We like swag. All right, just leave it there in the corner for now if you'd like. Sweaters. Who's in charge of corporate service? So this is the Hope Air Day in Newfoundland and Labrador, and the proclamation reads, whereas access to health care is a fundamental right for all citizens, regardless of their geographic location, and whereas Hope Air, a charitable organization, has been tirelessly dedicated to providing access to health care by facilitating free flights and other services for patients living in rural, remote, and underserved communities in Newfoundland and Labrador, ensuring they can receive vital medical treatment regardless of distance or financial means. Excuse me. Whereas Hope Air has been instrumental in bridging the gap between smaller communities and hospitals far from home, reducing the geographic and cost barriers that often prevent individuals from reaching medical care. And whereas the impact of Hope Air extends beyond the individual patients served, positively affecting families, communities, and the healthcare system as a whole by promoting wellness and reducing the burden of untreated medical conditions. Whereas the compassion, dedication, and commitment demonstrated by Hope Air and its volunteers embody the spirit of community and the belief in the inherent value of every individual's well-being. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues on council, we do hereby proclaim that November 5th shall be known as Hope Air Day in recognition of the invaluable contributions made by Hope Air to the health and well-being of the residents of Mount Pearl and the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. We urge all citizens to join us in celebrating Hope Air Day and to reflect on the significance of ensuring equitable access to health care for all members of our society. And let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting initiatives that promote health equity and extend our gratitude to Hope Air for their unwavering dedication to serving those in need. And I'm going to sign, hopefully I was going to. So welcome, Jacqueline. Good to see you. Welcome to the chamber. And I'm going to turn off my mic to put the spotlight on you. And feel free to tell us what you're doing. I think it's next Monday or next Tuesday. All right, carry on.
It's loud. Just want to make sure you folks are aware of Hope Air, our services, and what we do. We've been operating in Newfoundland and Labrador since 1986. My role is pretty much brand new. I've been in the role for 2 months as Director of External Relations for Atlantic Canada. This is the first time we've had an employee present in Atlantic Canada. We are looking to expand our presence here because of a high need for the services that we provide. So this year, we provided about 1,700 travel arrangements for residents of Newfoundland and Labrador who need to travel for medical services that are far from home. So what we do is anyone who is in financial need can apply to Hope Air to be fully covered for the cost of their flights, hotel, ground transportation, and meal vouchers if they have a confirmed medical appointment that's more than 4 hours away from their location, their home community. So that includes, we think about Newfoundland and Labrador. Yes, it includes people who have to travel from rural parts of the province to St. John's for care, but it also includes about 40% of the people that we serve are actually flying out of province. So it would include residents of Mount Pearl. There are a significant number of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who have to leave the province for specialty medical care, not available here. And it's the practical reality, right, of living in a province with such a small population size, is that travel is going to have to be an important part of our healthcare system. So when you think about equity in healthcare, if you're someone who is struggling financially on the lower end of the income spectrum, and you find out that one of your children has eye cancer, and you have to travel to Sick Kids in Toronto for the type of treatment that you need, where are you going to find $2,000 to come up with, airfare accommodations for one flight? And you may have to travel multiple times throughout the year. So that is the story of one of our patients who will be at the event we're doing on November 5th, celebrating Hope Air Day. We have a fundraising breakfast in St. John's at the Sheraton Hotel, November 5th, Ham, Eggs, and Hope, where we will be fundraising for Hope Air, and one of our patients, Amir, and his mom, Chantel, will be there telling their story. They've traveled with us 9 times over the last year and will continue into 2025 as he has follow-up treatment. So it's a very essential service to people in financial need, because without us, they would not be able to afford to get to their medical care. 32% of the patients we serve in Newfoundland and Labrador have said that without our services, they would have canceled or postponed their appointment. Obviously, that's not good news, not just for those individual patients who would become more ill, but for our healthcare system. So thank you to the council, and thank you to the City of Mount Pearl for proclaiming November 5th Hope Air Day. Your support does have a real impact on not just the lives of our individual patients, but the communities that we serve, enabling people to stay in Newfoundland and Labrador while getting healthcare elsewhere, enabling them to, not be driven further into debt, and enabling them to have better health outcomes. So I'm going to just close with a quick quote. When you think about the impact of the services that we provide, the best way to summarize it is to hear from our patients themselves. We did a survey this summer of patients in Newfoundland and Labrador and asked them what they would have done without Hope Air. So I'm just going to read you 2 quotes from that survey. "My father would not have been able to afford to make the appointments. He probably wouldn't have survived. He's now cancer-free." Another said, "Financially, I wouldn't have been able to go. That meant no treatment, so maybe I would be dead by now. My brother just died from the same problem." So your support has a real impact. So thank you.
So Jacqueline, how do proclamations help in this whole process?
They help us by generating awareness. Sorry, yep. They help us by generating awareness. So we have 17 municipalities across the province who have chosen to proclaim November 5th Hope Air Day. So, that shows the impact and contribution that we have to the community. We are currently in discussions with the provincial government. So my role has 2 objectives. One is to make sure that everybody needs our services, knows about them. The other is to ensure that we have the funding we need to be able to continue to serve the growing demand in this province. So we saw a 110% increase in travel demand last year. So we're in conversations with the province, the Department of Labrador Affairs, to help support us with further funding to be able to continue to grow and serve the demand. And this support from your municipality helps us in those lobby efforts as well.
Council, any comments? Any questions? Councillor Rice.
Thank you, Worship. Jacqueline, thank you for coming in. So I'm trying to get my head wrapped around now regarding, so do you apply for federal funding? So where does most of your funding come from? Or I know you just mentioned provincial funding.
So right now, we get a very small grant from the provincial government. We're a national charity. We get the bulk of our funding from corporate donations. So because we're a national charity, we have the ability to leverage very large corporate donors. We have partnerships with airlines, Air Canada, WestJet, Porter, hotel chains like Holiday Inn, Uber. That's how we provide ground transportation, is donations from Uber. So we have the ability to leverage a lot of relationships that help us offset costs, but we also get a very large amount of corporate donations. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we were lucky enough last year to get a great grant from the North Pine Foundation. So they've given us 3 years of funding, which enables me to be here and enables us to really drive more awareness and help more people in Newfoundland and Labrador. But that's a temporary grant. You know, a lot of these foundations, it's to help us build a more sustainable model. So again, that's why we're in conversations with the provincial government. They have a travel support program. So there's a medical travel assistance program through the province, and that's available for anyone. So you don't have to have a financial need, which ours you do have to have a financial need. But the challenge with that is it's a reimbursement program largely. So if you're in the income bracket of the people we support, they don't have that money up front. They may not even have a credit card to put it on. So you're talking, you know, maybe $2,000 per trip for this single mother with 2 kids who has to go 10 times a year. That's not something she's able to, you know, borrow and wait for a reimbursement on. And also the system is challenging to navigate, like many government programs. And our program is completely upfront. They don't have to pay anything. And we have a client care team who books all travel arrangements for them, handles any changes, any delays that they might encounter. Their medical appointment gets changed, they have someone to call. So a much easier system to navigate.
Let's do a picture. Will we help you promote Hope Air Day? Thanks to.
I'm going to grab my phone.
Next proclamation is World Town Planning Day, November 8th. Nobody here from external sources to speak to it, but our Director of Planning, Engineering, Development, I think, is going to respond. And I'm going to read the proclamation, then we'll turn it over to you, Scott. Whereas November 8th has been celebrated as Town Planning Day, or in the case of the City of Mount Pearl, World City Planning Day, in many countries since 1949, and whereas Newfoundland and Labrador Association of Professional Planners, an affiliate of the Canadian Institute of Planners, endorses World Town Planning Day to recognize the contribution of planning to the quality of our communities and our environment, and whereas World Town Planning Day helps us to publicly recognize the work of planners, municipal officials, and citizens in planning for the future of Mount Pearl and in the crucial role of creating healthy, livable, and sustainable communities. Now, therefore, I, the Mayor of Mount Pearl, on behalf of my colleagues, we do hereby proclaim November 8th of next week, by the way, as World Town Planning Day here in the city of Mount Pearl. And I'm going to turn to our director, but I'm going to start by saying we're in the middle of a municipal plan review So the timing is really good for that. Over to you, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm honored to be able to speak about this today as a new Director of Planning, Engineering, Development. Um, you know, November 8th marks International Town Planning Day, and it actually is the 75th anniversary. It's an international holiday where it's observed by many planners and municipalities all over the world. Sometimes the work of planners can go unnoticed, but they really play a very key role in steering the vision for cities such as City of Mount Pearl. When it comes to social inequality, affordability, housing, steering climate change, and addressing climate crisis, and planning the vision for the city, they are really at the forefront of this. And it's important to give a shout out to them and all the hard work they do. And as you said, Mayor, they are currently working now to help develop this municipal plan. And it's important that the residents engage with this because their feedback is duly important.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Scott, and very appropriate for not just for the celebration of the amount of planning that's gone into this city in the past, but also every 10 years or so, we are responsible for updating our municipal plan, and that's in progress, and we'll be taking that to our residents now in the coming weeks. I'd like to turn to the chair of the committee, Councillor Antle, to talk further.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I've been on council now 8 years, but 6 years I've been planning. I didn't know too much about planning when I got on council. But, I had the benefit of Catherine Howell, right? And now Karen Miller. I mean, these planners do so well for us. Every time we ask them a question, they know how to run the city. And prior to Catherine and Karen, we had many good planners well before them. And you can look around the city, and Mount Pearl is so well off or so well because of the planners. Everything here in Mount Pearl is done because the planners have planned and said, this is how we want it to be. Just last week, Councillor Locke said, 30 years from now, someone's going to thank the shade from that tree. And same thing, 30 years from now, we're going to thank the planners in Mount Pearl for everything that's after happening in Mount Pearl. Everything here in Mount Pearl is planned out, and congratulations, hats off to Catherine and to Karen and Alana and all that team. I mean, they certainly go out of their way to make sure City of Mount Pearl is done. And every time we ask them a question, without a doubt, they know it up front, and it's quite easy to deal with. Congratulations and well done. Thank you.
Anybody else? Councillor Locke.
I have to chime in every year, Mayor. Thank you. As a geographer by profession, I really appreciate, the value of planning. And I've mentioned it multiple times that when I was in my former career as a social studies teacher teaching Canadian geography, the City of Mount Pearl was highlighted as a case study in a textbook when it came to urban planning. We are known as a very well-planned city. And as Councillor Andrew said, we're reaping the benefits of people in years gone by who had the foresight to plan the way they did. And just one anecdote, over the last couple of weeks, I was at one of our recreational facilities here in Mount Pearl, and a new resident came up to me and said, they recently moved to Mount Pearl, and it was Mount Pearl by choice, because Mount Pearl is so well planned and well laid out, and they spoke about our 60 kilometers of trails and how all of our retail spaces tend to be clustered and our open spaces and our recreation facilities. So again, I look forward to this proclamation every year, and I do, as Councillor Antle did, congratulate and extend sincere appreciation to our current planners and all the past planners that have brought us to where we are as a city. And I am looking forward to future plans with our city revitalization plan, our Northlands development, our new, City of Mount Pearl municipal plan. So the future is bright indeed. Thank you, Mayor.
Good comments there, Councillor Locke. No, I just want to make a comment that most of the council actually attended the session at the Soccer Hut last year when they had planning day, and we it's very nice to see all the planners from around the region come together, and some former planners that work with the City of Mount Pearl were there as well. But as we all know, and like Councillor Locke mentioned, and also Councillor Antle, I mean, without a plan, we don't get very far, do we? So it's nice, so nice to see staff, you know, really putting their heart and soul into the planning part of the city, because the long-term effects is very, very important for the, you know, the growth. And now with the transportation and municipal plan review coming through, I mean, it's so important to plan out where we're going to the future. So thank you for everything that you guys do. And we really appreciate, you know, the aspect of having the planning in our department. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we look forward to next week, enjoying the day. And I think it'd really be good if we could share something, say, with staff that day, especially those that work with Scott in the planning and engineering department. All right, we're going to move on now in the agenda. Thank you much. Corporate Services and Public Works, Councillor Rice, and I believe the seconder is going to be tonight with Councillor Lane absent, would be Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Worship. So the following items are brought forward for the consideration of council from our meeting held back on October the 15th. So number one is invoices for approval. In your kit, you'll see 16 invoices there for approval. So the committee recommends that the following invoices totaling $622,256.31 be approved for payment, and I so move.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Any questions, council? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Number two is our payment register for the information of council. You can see in your kit there quite a nice few items. This for information purposes only. For council, the following payment register for October the 10th until October the 22nd, 2024, totaling $1,369,859.91. That's for your information purposes there only. Thank you. Number three is our request for tax consideration. So this information on this one, the committee recommends approval to exempt 2024 business taxes in accordance with the policy for charitable and nonprofit organizations for the following. NL Safety Council on 3 Moffat Road. The business is under 100% recommendation for an annual amount of $9,907.70. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Rice, and thank you. Seconded by Councillor Locke. In accordance with policy. Any questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next item on our agenda is our tender for snow clearing services. This is our TP 24-031. So the background on this one, the tender for snow clearing services TP-24-031 is for the supply of labor and equipment for snow clearing services. The Public Works Department has identified that an externally contracted snow clearing services may be required to maintain the city's level of service in winter seasons. So the above noted tender was issued on September the 3rd, 2024, and it closed on September 23rd, 2024. We had one bid that was received. The lowest bid qualified bidder is Farrell's Excavating Limited, for the bid amount of $216,200, HST included, for the upcoming winter season. It is noted that the actual cost of the service may be higher or lower depending on the varied number of hours required, as the tender is based on hourly rates for contractor staff and equipment. The expenditures will be within the approved budget as determined by council. The Department of Public Works recommends that the contract for snow clearing services TP 24-031 be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, Farrell's Excavating Limited. The department's recommendation was supported by Corporate Services and Public Works Committee on September the 27th, 2024, and by the Committee of the Whole at the meeting of October the 15th, 2024. So recommendation, Corporate Services, Public Works recommends that approval for the contract for snow clearing TP 24-031 be awarded to the lowest qualified bidder for Farrell's Excavating for 1 year, with the option of 2 additional 1-year terms for the bid amount of $216,200 HST included per year, for which funding can be made available within the city's annual operating budgets. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Locke. Any questions? Director Dollemont, how could it be lower? So we're eyeballing $216,000 here, which is a good contingency in case we have to, we get a lot of bad weather, I guess is probably the best way I can put it. But how could it turn out to be lower, please?
So that's a great question, and this amount is based on an average hours, of course, that we supplied to any contractors that wanted to bid the tender, to give them at least some idea of where, you know, what the expectation would be. Of course, if we use less than the hours that was suggested, it would be a lower amount for the required services.
Thank you, sir, very much. So it may not be 216, it's in that ballpark, and it's a good contingency plan in case the weather doesn't cooperate with us. Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so it could be lower, but is there a base amount, Director Dollar amount, that we will pay regardless of usage?
There is a standby fee associated with this tender, and it amounts to $100,000 plus HST. And what is different from this tender based on the one that we had in previous years is more flexibility for the city within this tender, that we can avail of different types of equipment as the way, more so against the way it used to be.
Thank you, Director. I mean, we were just talking about planning and, you know, how well planned the city is and prudence of planning. I was at a conference a couple of years back, and many jurisdictions are opting for this approach given climate change. And, you know, it was a novel concept that, heaven forbid, we get another, you know, winter with 20 feet of snow with these multiple snowstorms that just basically overwhelm, you know, the city's capacity. You know, we got great staff that does a great job maintaining our streets in the winter seasons. But this is, again, prudent planning in the event that some exceptional circumstances pop up, that we can maintain the level of service that our residents expect. So I fully support this, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad council supports the safety of our residents. At the end of the day, it shows our commitment to ensuring that winter is the, you know, winter safety is the highest priority, and we look forward to working with everybody involved, whether it's our own staff as well as any of the contingencies like this, to make sure that the citizens of Mount Pearl receive the same snow clearing service they've always received in the past. Looking around the table, all good. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? And those opposed? And that's carried too. Back to you.
Thank you, Worship. Next one is our travel request for RSC Director Jason Collins for this Sport Tourism Hockey Conference. It is recommended that the request for the Director of Recreation and Community Services to attend the Sport Tourism Hockey Conference in Charlottetown, PEI, from October the 27th to October the 29th, 2024 be approved, and I so move.
It is moved again and seconded. All in favor? And opposed? Carried.
Thank you, Worship. I just think I'm scrolling down here now. I'm showing number 5 and number 7. Have we got number 6 on here? Probably works. Yeah, 7 on my list, but I got her. There's no 7, but a 7 on my list here, but I thought I missed one. For information, this one actually is a public works status report. The following status report is provided for information only. Under our roads division, we have work continuing on our asphalt repairs, street sweeping, our maintenance halls and catch basins. This is a really good one. We had a good discussion actually on Monday at our committee meeting. Our bag organic grass at curbside has increased over the past season, which has resulted in tipping fee savings, which is great. The city encourages all residents of the city of Mount Pearl and the public to continue using paper bags rather than plastic bags for grass clippings up to the end of the season and commencing again in the spring. I just want to comment on how important this is, because the city is supplying the bags right now here in the city of Mount Pearl. You can drop by how many locations I think we got? I know we got City Hall and the Summit Center as well, right? So there, we had a good conversation on this one on Monday, and I'm happy to say that Director Dalman said that, because I noticed on Smallwood Drive there were some bags out, leaves in plastic bags, but the city staff actually cut some of the bags open and dumped them in, and I took the recycling bags and recycled them. So it's good to see our city staff doing that. I know it's extra work, but I guess when they see so many bags and that be all going to the landfill. So I'm so glad they do that. But just to be mindful next spring coming and even this fall, because I know we got a lot of leaves being collected now in the next couple of months or the next month for sure. So we have those bags available. So please drop by the city or the Summit Center and pick them up. Under our Parks Division, work continues on our maintenance of sport fields. Our commemorative bench and tree program installations are nearing completion. Under our Fleet Division, service and maintenance continue. Hate to say this, but our winter equipment maintenance is ongoing. We're getting pretty close. We had some wet flurries today, and I'm sure going in the next few weeks we'll have a small particles of snow. So it's good to see our winter maintenance schedule being kept up as well. Under a UTM division, our general calls continue for our water and sewer repair, our leak detection, and under our water levels at Bay Bulls Big Pond as of October the 21st, 2024, they're attached there in your kit. They're down compared to the last couple of years, but certainly maintaining a pretty high level at this time. And that is for our committee report, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next committee is the Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee. Councillor Rice, don't get too comfortable. You'll be seconding Councillor Antle.
Thank you, Your Worship, and a good job there, Councillor Rice. There's a few there. Our first one is 21 Wilson Crescent. This is a proposed group childcare. The back of the committee was advised that the city is in receipt of a discretionary use application proposed to operate a group child home at 21 Wilson Crescent. The applicant proposes utilizing a portion of the dwelling to provide childcare services. The proposed hours are Monday to Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. There will be visitors to the home twice a day to drop off and pick up children. The Planning Division has processed this discretionary use application for group child use at 21 Wilson Crescent as per Section 417 of the Mount Pearl Development Act. The Planning and Engineering Development recommends approval of this discretionary use application and that a development permit be issued, subject to Section 716 Group Childcare Use in the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010, and subject to any regulatory conditions as set up by the Department of Planning, Engineering Development. And I so move.
Second.
It is moved by Councillor Antle and seconded by Councillor Rice. We did do residential engagement, right, in the neighborhood? Yes, all right, fair enough. Any questions, council? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded? Carried.
Thank you. And number two is 47 to 49 Commonwealth Avenue. It's a consolidation of land, restaurant, and the drive-through use, which is discretionary. The background here, the committee was advised that the city is in receipt of an application from the Window Shop for proposed combined restaurant and drive-through use, the construction of a new building, and the consolidation of land at 47 and 49 Commonwealth Avenue. The Planning Division has processed this discretionary use application for drive-through use at 47 and 49 Commonwealth Avenue as per Section 417 of the Mount Pearl Act. And before we get into this, there was a public hearing held at that here at City Hall, and we had residents in, and their concerns were brought up and all addressed. And when we all left, everybody agreed that this was a good development. And the Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends approval of this discretionary use application and a development permit be issued, subject to Section 17, drive-through use in the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 2010, and subject to any regulatory conditions as set out in the Department of Planning, Engineering, and Development. And I so move.
Second.
Keep on driving through. Moved by Councillor Antle, second by Councillor Rice. Any questions? We're only approving really the drive-through. Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Yes, thank you.
Number three is a very important contract recommendation. It shows that the city is moving forward. We've been talking about, our strategic plan and how we can build our city. The committee was advised that the review of the request for proposal for north of Topsail Road and owner's advisory service has now been completed. 2 proposals were submitted, and the preferred proponents were the Altus Group. Altus team, which will provide services such as project management, business consultation, legal, architecture, surveying, cost estimate, risk management, civil, geotechnical engineering, inspection and commissioning, landscape architecture, environmental and planning. Service will only be billed as an on-needed basis and to an agreed limit. The Altus Group will act on the city's behalf to facilitate the development of the lands north of Topsail Road. This is north of Topsail Road. It's everything, say, from behind Avalon Ford and on the other side of Wyatt Boulevard. The Altus team will act on the city's behalf to facilitate development of the land situated north of Topsail Road. Their proposal was submitted to a 3-year period when it will be viewed at the end of the first year to determine if it will be extended. The Planning, Engineering, and Development Committee recommends that the city engage Altus Group to complete this owner's advisory group related to the development of Topsail Road, north of Topsail Road, to an upset limit. This is to the maximum for $862,143.50, HST included. This is for 1 year, at which time Altus Road will be reevaluated to determine if the contract will be extended. And I so move.
Second.
Moved by Councillor Randall, and thank you, Councillor Rice, for seconding it. Comment from Councillor Locke.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Antle. Just want to note here that, I mean, this is a huge amount of money, $862,000 to, to, if a resident was, looking into this. But, I just want to speak to the point that this is a significant development in the city of Mount Pearl. We refer to it as our Northlands. You'll often hear Mayor Dave and my council colleagues call it Northlands. This is the last, vacant area, shall we say, in terms of to this scale, that we can develop. And I'm glad, Councillor Antle, outlined all the professional services that are enrolled in this particular contract. There's a lot of expertise required here. As good as our staff are at the city of Mount Pearl, we don't have all the in-house expertise necessary to organize and plan something of this scale. So I just wanted to highlight that while it's a lot of money, there's going to be a lot of service for that money. And I'm hoping this is going to be this development up here in this neighborhood is going to be unique. It's going to be a destination. And I think that's the will of all my council colleagues. So we don't want this to be a run of the mill. We're hoping to do something innovative and bold and again, to enhance the livability of our city. So just want to note that it seems like a lot, but we are getting a lot in return for this. And I fully support this. I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rice.
No, I just want to add to what Councillor Locke has mentioned, and I certainly support this, this recommendation as well. There's so many parts to this puzzle that need to go together to make that work over there, and getting a group that's having an expertise in all these areas is so important to us. Like Councillor Locke mentioned, I mean, we don't have all the expertise at the city, and we're maxed out with staff now in certain areas. But having this group come on board now, and get us to go in the right direction and support us and have a team approach to this is very important. Because, let's face it, we have a lot of parts to the puzzle that need to go together up in that area. And so I certainly support this recommendation, and I'm glad it's come on board through council at this time.
I'll end with you, Councillor Antle, if it's okay, but I'd like to just point out that we have many of the things at hand, and we have good engineering staff, we have good planning staff, good financial staff. Others have made that same point. The challenge up here, in order to get this going, a water tower is being planned. That's going to be coming from the PED department, as we call it. But we need to calculate for a variety of developers over a variety of landowners. And it's important that the city recover its cost at the end of the day through a system of levies. And I think the Altus Group will be playing a major role, Director Rideout, especially in the business development side. And of course, where they have a little bit more expertise, say, in some of those other functional areas, we'll be calling upon the Altus Group. But the 862,000, which is my other point, is a high number. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be achieved, but the business model is the key to moving this forward, especially so the developers will know things like cost per acre.
No, and you're absolutely right. So, it's great to see this here. I'm really glad that this was able to be advanced tonight. We have started working with Altus Group. So we actually had our kickoff a couple of weeks ago, and Prior to that, we were just evaluating the approach to proposal. But one of the primary things that they're starting on and in consultation with our team is that business case and making sure that our return on investment is mapped out accordingly based on the phases of the plan. So with our active and right now inactive developers and trying to understand how all the pieces of the puzzle work together. And so we started that work with Altus already. We understand the importance of being able to be transparent with developers to say, look, this is going to be the levy that we recover for the build of this long-term project. We're building almost another small piece of almost a small community within our community. So when we went with the CDS 5 years ago, it was 1,200 new houses and a mix of commercial general. That's huge. That's a considerable addition to our municipality. And so we have to get the business case right. We have to make sure that we're transparent and upfront with developers. That's step one. We also need to make sure our master servicing plan is in line with where we need to go. And those are the two most important pieces. And what we've, I want to say, hit the ground running with Alderson, but we also understand that this is a huge development and we've got to get it right. So.
Thank you very much. It's the, hearing no other question, I'm gonna say it's the final building block. Streets and services are moving right along. The planning piece has moved quite along many years ago. Water towers going in. Councillor Antle, would you like to sum up?
Just a quick note, I mean, it's all great comments, but we've been dealing with Northlands. Northlands, I see sometimes people say, where does Mount Pearl grow? What's next? Northlands is this, north of Topsy Road is where we're to. And it's huge. It's a huge piece of property. And now we've been on council now, like this is our second term, so almost a little bit longer. But we've been dealing with the roads, we've been dealing with water, we've been dealing with everything for the past few years. This is next piece. We just talked about how well we're planned. This is how well we planned. This $862,000 is the max. And like we're going to say, we're going to get a lot of this back through levies, right? But we're going to do this right. This is going to be a great portion to the city. And when you say how big it is, when you're saying it's 1,200 to 2,000 homes, that's comparable to almost Southlands, when you figure out how big it is. And we're doing it right, even though it's 800, and it seems to be a big chunk of change, but it's to the maximum, and we're going to get most of that money back. And I'm certainly glad to bring this forward. And again, I so move.
All right, motion's on the floor. I'll call the question. All in favor and opposed? Thank you. Carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. And number 4 is 621 Kenmount Road. This is a side yard setback variance. The city is in receipt of an application from Chimo Construction proposing a building extension to the existing Avalon Ford located at 621 Kenmount Road. The proposed expansion will expand operations for the out-of-body repair component of the business and will include the addition of 1 paint bay, which will increase the number of paint bays to a total of 2. This is considered an intensification of hazard use. The extension will also require a variance to reduce the minimum flanking side yard from 10 meters to 9.47 meters, a difference of 0.53 meters or 6%. The planning division has been advised by the applicant, the contractor for Avalon Ford, they are not adding an additional spray booth. The existing 2 spray booths will be located to the new addition. An intensification of hazard use is no longer required for just a side yard variance. A public session was tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, October 2nd. A notice of the application was posted on the city's website and was published in the Shoreline on Monday, September 16th. Notice was also circulated to 83 property owners, including the Member of Parliament, our MHAs, our Chamber of Commerce, and within the 150-meter radius of proposed development via Canada Post on Wednesday, September 11, 2024. Prior to deciding on the application, comments from the general public were to be submitted by no later than 12 noon on Friday, September 27, 2021. It says 2021, but I'm assuming it's 2024. As of the deadline, no written submissions or confirmation of attendance of the briefing session were received, and the briefing session was cancelled. But the recommendation is the Planning Division has processed the intensification of hazard use and the variance application as per section 715 and 4.6 of the Mount Pearl Development Regulations. And the Planning and Development Committee recommends approval of the variance. I recommend that development permit be issued subject to the below conditions. And I so move. Second.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Antle, seconded by Councillor Rice. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Did you want to say something, Councillor
I
Locke?
just wanted a point
Oh.
of clarification there, Mayor. When I was reading through the kit here, at the first part of it says they were going, this application was to expand their spray booths to a total of 2. But then later on, it says they've advised that they are not going to be adding an additional spray booth, but the existing 2 spray booths are going to be moved to the new section. So I didn't know if they currently had 1 spray booth that they were planning to move to 2. You understand what I'm saying? It seems, I don't know if I'm missing it or if I can get some clarification perhaps.
The question you're asking is the spray use being increased?
Right.
So yes, there are 2 existing spray booths in the building, which are going to be moved out to the addition. I believe they were considering if they were going to just bring 1 out, but instead they're going to take the 2 existing and bring out.
Call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I think we should review our regulations in our part of municipal plan. They probably applied for that 2 months ago. And I just wonder if that use is any more hazardous than using a hammer gun now for carpenters building, framing up a building. But it's probably a good opportunity to review in terms of the old Consider It Done program, in terms of our development regulations to see, is there any streamlining that's necessary there, given, for example, the occupational health and safety regulations and the workplace health safety that many businesses, not many businesses, I should say, all businesses are under. But good motion, it's in place, but I think there's an opportunity for change and maybe streamlining. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Worship. And number 5, I'll do a both. The building and occupancy permit listing for September the 23rd to October the 4th, 2024. The Planning, Engineering and Development Committee recommends that the residential and commercial building permits issued for this period, showing a total construction of $4,086,350 to be approved, and further that the occupancy permit listed below be accepted as presented. And I so move.
Second?
Councillor Rantle has moved them all. All in favor? Those opposed? Carried.
We go. We're moving ahead in a hurry, Your Worship. All good? Perfect. Number 6 is our development permit listing for September the 23rd to October the 4th. And again, these are very good development permit listings requests. And I see number 1 there was issued on date of issue was September the 23rd, 2024. We're going to see many of these. And this is a development permit for our community center splash pad and ice surface. So things are moving forward. The permit's out, so stay tuned. And I so move.
Second?
Just like the previous motion, second by Councillor Rice, moved by Councillor Rantle. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And now just a quick capital works update. There's a change here. I guess our new director has updated the format. It's good, all right? Always change as good as just happens. All right, now we're talking about Carroll Drive. If you drive by Carroll Drive, it looks fabulous. 95% of the work is complete. There are some deficiencies. Some landscaping and minor work remains. Farrell Drive, 95% complete. There are some deficiencies, and again, some landscaping and minor work needs to be done. Birch Avenue, I'm happy to say, is complete. There's some property reinstatement remaining. Spruce Avenue is complete. Olympic Drive, if you drive by Olympic Drive, it's 95% complete. There's a few deficiencies remaining. Our Kenmount Hill upgrades, Farrell Drive, Topsail, Evans Place. The design is ongoing right now with the tender being for this fall. The Farrell Drive Pump House is something great again for our Northlands. The design is ongoing and it'll be out the spring of 2025. Wyatt Boulevard, the design is almost complete. The tender's coming out for this winter. Water tower, it's so good to see. I mean, we need a water tower. We need this again. It's all to do with north of Topsail Road. Our design is ongoing. Tender will be out this and be completed winter 2025. A water tower, road, and Taverner Place. Its design is ongoing, and the tender will be out spring of 2025. Our sewer lift station, the design is ongoing. A tender will be out winter, spring of 2025. Holden Street upgrades, the design is started and that tender will be out again the spring of 2025. Jackman Drive upgrades, the RFP has been issued, that was done, and design is for winter and summer 2025, with design tender late spring 2025. Our 2024 asphalt and concrete services construction is ongoing, and that's 85% complete. And I'm happy to say that our lining painting is all done. We're ready for the winter, Director Dalamont. Thank you very much, and that's everything for the BEST committee, the PED committee.
Councillor Rice, sorry.
Yeah, I got one question on on this here actually for the Capital Works update. I noticed Olympic Drive up there because they were a while before they got the line painting on. So are we planning on putting, because if you drive through Olympic Drive now, and I guess this question is for probably our Director of Planning, Engineering, Development, there's no line going right through Olympic Drive. There's all blacktop, but there's no line markings going through separating the lanes. Is that something we're going to leave like that, or are we planning, because I know the line painting now is completed. So just trying to identify right lane and left lane going over there, because there's no line going right through, right? For that area.
Just to clarify, are you advocating a change, or are you saying it was already there and we haven't got it done?
There you go. Yeah, no, but before there was a line up there, but when the road was redone, there's no line there now. They never put it back, because we asked about the line painting to be done. Because on the intersection now of, we had a bit of a confusion there right by Pipers and the Bigs, where there was no line identification. It was a long time before they got that done. And when they did it, we never continued with the line going right over Olympic. So there's no line there on separating both lanes now, right?
Yeah, so the intention there would be to reinstate it as per their original condition. It hasn't been done yet, but the expectation is that it will.
Thank you both. Over to you, Councillor Locke.
Thank you, Mayor. Also, with respect to line painting, I've raised it a number of times. Have we installed any of these reflective tabs or these reflective markers embedded into the pavement? Because I know it was in some of our contracts, and in particular, I thought we were going to try up in the Donovans because when the paint wears off in the wintertime, it's very difficult on some of those turns up there, especially on those dark, drizzly, dreary nights. It's hard to, and you got 4 lanes of traffic up there. So I know we talked about potentially doing a pilot up in that area to see, and I'm noticing them increasingly more so. They're using these reflectors on Portugal Cove Road. I just noticed, for example, on Roach's Line, they just repaved that, tops of road. So I'm just wondering, and maybe I haven't seen them, were they a part of our line painting process? And are there plans to have those in place before the winter season?
There's no plans before the winter season this year, but going forward, we are looking at piloting those and including them in our line painting program.
All right, thanks, folks. I think we're at the end of the agenda. Thank you to all and those who pitched in for some of our colleagues who are absent. Roundtable, we're going to start with you, Councillor Rice.
Recreation community safety. Yeah.
Jeez, honestly, I pressed the down key, Councillor Locke, and I thought it was at the end of the agenda, right? But I do recall getting a message from Councillor Fry, and she's kind of said that you were going first. All yours.
No problem, Mayor. It only covers half a page of the agenda here, so it's easy. It's easy to skip by. Yeah. We won't be too long, Mayor. First is our Remembrance Day parade and wreath laying ceremony on November 11th. Always a special event in our city. The parade and wreath laying will take place on Monday, as I said, November the 11th. The Royal Canadian Legion Branch 36's parade formation is going to start at Morse Academy in the parking lot there at around 10:40. And it will then proceed down Roosevelt Avenue for the wreath laying ceremony directly in front of our cenotaph at our beautiful St. David's Park. So that's just an information for our residents and visitors. The second one here, the Stride Running Club, Run to Remember, also taking place on November the 11th. This is an annual run to remember. It's scheduled at 8 o'clock in the morning in the city of Mount Pearl, and it's estimated to be concluded by 10 a.m. Motorists will be advised that there could potentially be traffic delays in Donovan's along Coruscant Drive and Commonwealth Avenue areas as runners will cross the road as they follow the trail. So again, we'll put this on our social media and alert people to that. But just a heads up that there will be some runners in those parts of our city for that day. And that's it for me. I will turn it over now to Councillor Fry. I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Locke. The final item on our agenda for this evening is regarding some pool cancellations, and that is to accommodate our Mount Pearl Marlin swim meet. So the Mount Pearl Marlin swim meet is scheduled from November the 15th to the 17th at the Summit Pool, and it will involve some cancellations for the swims on these dates. But all details will be provided on all social media platforms, as well as signage within the facility a week prior to the start of the cancellation. So that's it for us, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And that was my way of giving Councillor Rice a heads up that he's first for the roundtable. Right now, sir, all yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just got a couple of items here on my agenda. I could put lots on there because there's lots of activities happening in the city every week and every couple of weeks when we're doing public. But the first one I want to mention is the staff and actually our committee are having an accessibility public engagement coming up at the Soccer Hut on November the 4th, starting at 6:30 p.m. So we'll be inviting, I guess, all partners in the city that, would have a voice and on that part, because we're moving forward, with our engagement part to get a feedback. Just had a good chat with with Stephanie Walsh a few minutes ago, and we will be sending out some invitations, I guess, to some community groups to attend that event. So looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout. And the other one, I just got the other one. I just want to make a comment on the haunting of Powers Pond. I think I was up there 5 times in total because my niece was there, but I just want to, I just want to say a big hats off to all the people who had a hand in that. I'm not going to go and mention any because there was too many people to mention. But they did a phenomenal job, and I certainly supported what they did up there, shutting down the certain areas by coming in on the dog park to enter in. I know we had a lot of negative comments on it, saying because we were cutting down the trail, but it was the investment of all the equipment that we purchased, which was over $40,000 this year, and we didn't want any of it beat up in the daytime and stuff. So I just want to say a big thank you to staff and anybody who had a hand in organizing that. It was a phenomenal event, and it was well organized and well put together. So hats off to anybody who had a hand in that event. Thank you.
Thank you much. Over to you, Councillor Fry.
Thank you. A couple of things for me. First of all, I just want to say a happy birthday to Marion Squires. She had a birthday party on this past weekend and invited us for her 90th birthday party. It was a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. And she is such a gem. I hope I'm as feisty as she is when I'm her age. I also want to remind residents that every year our Mount Pearl Blades Minor Hockey do a food drive. And in the past, they used to go door to door and collect food, but of course, COVID changed that. So now they do what's called a Hockey with a Heart. And that's taking place this coming Saturday, November the 2nd, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the Blades will team up and collect monetary donations for community food banks. And they raise a lot of money for our food banks. It's such a wonderful initiative, and it instills a sense of pride and contribution to our young people, of course. So this is going to take place at different locations throughout the city. Of course, this will all be on social media. But if you can't make it, that's no problem. They will be accepting EMTs to mtpearlblades@gmail.com, MTPEARL blades@gmail.com, with the subject line food bank. So get out and support them because they're going to be working awful hard to fill our food banks this year. And finally, for me, I know I mentioned this at the last meeting, but with Halloween in a couple of days, I just want to remind everyone about our annual safety skeleton. And this is going to take place on October 31st. And the city's municipal enforcement officers will patrol the streets within Mount Pearl to ensure that safety is being followed. And they also have treats to give out. So that's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Locke. Councillor Antle, you don't get his time. Just he's going to take advantage. Thanks, Councillor Locke. Councillor Antle.
I'm impressed. I only have a couple, I'd almost take your lead, but one, one of the things I want to talk about is our neighborhood watch program. I'm after noticing like how well or how good our neighborhood watch program is, and I really like to reinforce that. Just recently, our neighborhood watch, our municipal enforcement team, I met with the residents of Whitley Drive. And it was a very successful neighborhood watch program. This is something done by the City of Mount Pearl and our municipal enforcement. I mean, they go out, our team go out and they organize these neighborhood watches. And if anybody's interested in joining a neighborhood watch, they can contact our municipal enforcement team. We're represented here by Blair Tilley. Just give us a call at the city or at neighborhoodwatch@mountpearl.ca or 748-1042. This is a program done by the City of Mount Pearl. It's free of charge. We'll organize your neighborhood watch and just give us a call and we'll show up and we'll organize it. There's something done. And last thing for me is I'm just going through it, and this is only having to do with municipal planning week, and I want to make sure we get it. Our municipal plan is being done, and we just had it on our Facebook page. The survey's out. We are listening. And one of the things we're doing is we're having, as Councillor Rice said, we're doing one for accessibility. But we're having a town hall and an open house in the first week of December. And there's real opportunity for our residents to come out and give us your feedback. We're listening. Whatever, this is your chance it's your municipal plan. Let us know what you want to hear. You can go online now and you can see the survey results. There's lots of things eye-opening for all of us as councillors. But it's the City of Mount Pearl, it's the residents' plan, and we need to hear from you guys. And that's everything for me, Your Worship. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. Lots of change in the air, but you make a really good point about Neighborhood Watch. We as a city are very supportive of our residents in our neighborhoods. As politicians, we tend to be a little bit hands-off. For Neighborhood Watch to work, it takes the leadership of our staff, who are very well trained in cooperation with the RNC to do it. As members of council, we're very happy to support Neighborhood Watch. But at the end of the day, for it to really work, if you see some of the successful ones, the neighbors have to take possession of it. It's their neighborhood. And we're here to provide not our soapbox so we can get up, take credit for it. We're here genuinely to make sure we work with our residents. And when they are the genesis of tackling issues within their neighborhood, it tends to be a lot more successful as opposed to when somebody sort of puts a structure in place, and I don't mean forces it on them, but it's really important that the neighbors work together and they'll work in cooperation with us. Manager Tilley, would you like to comment on that? Because the Whitley one was very well attended. And it's amazing the number of issues that come up that relate to safety and crime in a neighborhood, isn't it?
Thank you, Your Worship. You're in fact, excuse me, correct. We are very proud of the Neighborhood Watch program that we have here in the city. We have 9 active programs that are currently running. And most of those, with the exception of Whitley, have been active for at least 8 to 10 years. So and the captains are very active in that program, as you stated. As new residents come in, there's always new people joining the program. So it's thriving and it's really doing well. And hats off to Danielle Gravette. She's the driving force behind it, and she does a great job.
I agree. Well done by staff, I must say, and we're always open to entertaining feedback from residents. If they'd like to have one in their neighborhood, happy to have them meet with you. My final thing or comment, I'm going to turn to Director Bett for a second, but JMJ is working on the new community center. I think it was mentioned in some of the updates there tonight. I think they're off to what appears to be a bit of a slow start, but I understand, Director, the steel is ordered, the foundation is going in the ground. They've got a design that's moving right along. Any observations and updates that you can give us as we speak tonight before the winter sets in?
Yes, of course. So as you said, they were off to a little bit of a slow start, but things have picked up substantially. The foundations have been poured. There are a couple set to be poured for next week. Excavation is complete for the building. We're anticipating final design drawings within the next couple of weeks, and all the critical milestones are still on course. So congrats to the team for helping keep that on track. And yeah, good news going forward.
Thank you for the update. I think it's important that our residents too know where we stand with this. There's a lot of money being spent over there. It's important we do it right, and I think the schedule is top of mind for not just us, our residents, especially next year with the Canada Games starting to take over some of that parking area. Okay, folks, I think we've had a really good meeting. We've been here for an hour and 10 minutes, some good proclamations and some good decisions and discussions. But now it's time to end the meeting. I'm going to call upon for a motion, moved by Councillor Rice, seconded by Councillor Antle. We're adjourned.